Welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time here. My name's Pete. I'm a shipwright and woodworker up in Port Townsend, Washington, where I've gained a reputation playing a role as a shipwright on a couple other very popular YouTube channels. Now I've decided to set out on my own and give this whole YouTube thing a try. Before we get going, I want to extend a huge thank you to everyone who's supported this channel financially through my Buy Me a Coffee account or my Patreon campaign. I do hope to incentivize it with some bonus content and some perks for different memberships in the future. Now, the more traction I gain on those two fronts, the bigger and more exciting the projects will become on this channel. I do still run a small business as a sole proprietor, working on wooden boats. It doesn't leave me a whole lot of time to work on my own projects. So through this channel, I hope to motivate myself to work on some of my own projects and share them all with you. These are going to range from wooden boat building to carpentry and other woodworking projects, but also so many other adjacent crafts that come with that. All the while, hopefully teaching folks a thing or two and also learning a thing or two myself along the way. All that being said, in this video, I'm going to begin the construction of a small timber frame shed that will serve as my blacksmith shop at home. Now, I've had a coal forge set up for 5 or 6 years now, and I've made all but one thing. All of that equipment's just been sitting in storage, waiting for me to build this little lean-to shed. I was hoping to be much further along on this project for this video, but like most folks, all the things in life got in the way, so I've only gotten as far as I could. Okay, enough jabbering on. I do hope you all enjoy this video, and let's get into it. Get the zoomies out. Well, here's a pile of some soggy logs that I'm hoping to use to build this shed. Now, these are some timbers that I milled from trees off my property. And of course, I irresponsibly left them in a pile, not properly stored. They've been sitting out for a couple of years now, but I'm hoping that this pile will yield all the stock I need to frame up this small timber frame shed. They do look a little rough, but I think they're going to clean up nicely. Fingers crossed, I hope I don't find the beginning of any decay within them. All in all, I'm not that concerned with the moisture content of these timbers. Considering the rule of thumb for air-dried timbers, which is 1 year per inch of thickness, it would take up to 8 years for an 8x8 timber to be considered air-dried. But I can assure you that early timber builders weren't waiting nearly that long to start constructing their houses, shops, and other structures. All right, welcome to the first installment of Will It Run with Pete. Now, this thing ran when I last parked it about 12 hours ago, but it's been sitting overnight, and you never know what might go wrong. So let's see if this thing will fire up. All right, well, here we go. This is one of those 6.5 cylinder V8. Pretty common in these older models. 4 on the floor, single pipe, dual exhaust. And by that I mean most of the exhaust leaks out of the manifold before it has a chance to go down the tailpipe. You know, it's a real workhorse and probably the best $400 I ever spent. I'm just glad Washington State doesn't have vehicle safety inspections. As the timbers sat on the shop floor for a couple of weeks to start drying out, it gave me time to draw some simple plans for this shed. With these plans, I was able to assign each timber its location within the frame and to start processing them. I started by cutting them all down closer to their finished lengths. I also took a minute and squared up 2 sides of each of them. This way I could run them through my thickness planer and come up with square timbers. After taking inventory, I settled on framing this structure with nominal 6x6 timbers. I did, however, have a couple of them that were milled at 8x8 that I had to resaw. Other than the extra work involved, this wasn't a big loss, considering these timbers had a substantial amount of sapwood on all 4 sides. Sapwood is usually the most susceptible to decay, so it's good to get rid of it. Had I had the foresight, I would have remilled these back at home on the horizontal bandsaw mill. However, I had already brought them down to the shop, and since there was only 2 of them, it was just as easy to resaw them with a series of circular saws. I did this with 7-inch, 10-inch, and 16-inch saws. Once I was at my maximum depth, I flipped the timber over and finished the cut from the opposing side. After that, these timbers just need a little truing up, and they're ready to go. So there we have it. Ugly duckling to a beautiful swan, however that story goes. Okay, I think I'm gonna go home now. Now for the last few weeks, I've also been busy, slowly but surely, relocating my shop in the boatyard to a building just next door. Some of you will probably recognize the shop that I'm moving into, as it was most recently occupied by the Tally Ho project. Now since the Tally Ho's left town, the boat shop cooperative that I'm a member of has now reabsorbed that shop. So now we have 2 spacious wood shops with our large metal hangar sandwiched between the 2, in which we have boat storage for 2 boats up to 65 feet, and also a few of our members have their bench spaces in there. A couple of marine systems technicians, and a machinist metal worker. Hey Zeal,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
I am putting a new fuel pump in my truck. I was getting a mysterious ticking noise coming from, I think, the mechanical fuel pump push rod. Trying to see if the fuel pump spring or diaphragm was bad. So I'm doing this after work.
Yeah.
Work after work.
It's like we have to work all day and then we have to rebuild our cars before we drive home.
Yeah, we just do our best.
Yeah. I'm essentially using 3 very basic timber frame joints for this entire shed, starting with the through mortise and tenon that connects the corner posts to the top plates. In addition to that, I'll be using some knee brace mortise and tenons and some step lap rafter tail joints. Now I've had a chance to rummage through all those timbers that I brought from home, and I've even started cutting the joinery on some of them. However, 2 of the longer 6x6s had too much rot in them for me to feel comfortable putting them into my shed. So I did have to go to one of my local lumber yards. So I did have to go to one of my local lumber yards to purchase some 12-foot 6x6s that will serve as the top plates for the front and back vents of my shed. Now my shed is only 10 feet wide, but I want a 1-foot overhang to accommodate the roofing. $126 for 2 little chunks of wood. You know what they say, wood don't grow on trees. Van or the Subaru?
Also the Subaru.
You're doing the fuel pump on the GMC.
Yeah, Chevy. The only reason I brought the truck into the van, the starter went out over the weekend. I ordered a starter for it, starting it early. I went to install it, still no bang, just in, just click. I saw smoke come out of the ground cable, and the ground cable off and put it back in, the starter fired. But it went, the starter I got from Rock Auto, as advertised, was the 9 spline, but this was a 10 spline starter. Everything looks the same except for the bendix. Put the old starter back in, fired right up. Perfect.
And the Subaru is better?
Yep.
Did you diagnose the...
I think it's a lifter.
Yeah, but you're still getting the ticking or the knocking.
I'm gonna do some more diagnostics before I pull the intake manifold off. Yeah. But that's less of a rush than the Super.
That's the baby mobile, dude.
Yeah, I know, it's the baby mobile.
The through mortises that accept the tenons on the tops of the corner post are drilled out with a boring bit and then cleared out by hand with a chisel. The knee brace mortise and tenon is easily the most complex joint on this entire frame, while still being a pretty rudimentary joint. I could have taken the easy way out and put in some butted knee braces spiked into the post, which is a pretty no-frills joint, but I'm hoping to essentially have no metal fastenings holding this entire structure together. All right, so there we have it. The first bent, oh, I got something in my eye, is dry fitted at least. Now this one's going to be the back wall of the shed. It's about 6.5 feet tall. The forward one is about 8 feet tall, giving us that sloped shed roof. These corner posts still need the joints for another set of knee braces that run forwards to the horizontal overhead beam that ties the front bent to the back bent. That beam's also going to get mortise and tenon into the top of these posts, and also the overhead beam here is going to get pockets cut into it to accept the rafters for the roofing. I didn't get completely finished with the front bent. I still have a couple joints to cut into it. I've only been able to give a certain amount of time to this project. I'm hoping I can clear my plate in the next couple days so that I can dedicate the coming weeks to finishing this project, and ideally by my next video having it installed back at home. Then again, there's no telling how long these things can take. I mean, it could take me up to 2 years. And of course, I want to give a big thank you to everyone who has either bought me a coffee or joined my Patreon campaign. Showing your support through those two platforms encourages me to persevere and continue on with this channel. Even if you don't support me through those platforms, you still get a massive thank you for simply watching my video, because that is support enough. I'm happy that I can put out content, and I'm hopeful that I can put out content that people enjoy watching, and I do hope to inspire people to get up and off their computer and try some of this stuff for themselves. Okay, so that concludes video number 4. Thank you all so much again, and have a good night, or day, or morning, or whatever time it is when you're watching this video. All right, bye. Whoa, that is rigid.